Space Cats. This week it's all about a girl with really long hair. I fear she may have fallen victim to lockdown hairdressers. No, not really. It's all about Rapunzel. Hi, it's me, Jules, bringing you another Friday video all about creative stuff, whether that's a draw with me video like today, or whether that's a tutorial on how to publish your own books. Without wishing to repeat myself or literally millions of other YouTubers, if you like what you see here, make sure you use your finger and poke that subscribe button and ding the bell next to it to make sure you get all of my uploads. Begone, ye waffle! Let the drawing commence! I wanted to make a video on painting buildings, and because I'm such a sucker for fairy tales and old folklore, I plumbed for Rapunzel, as she's in quite the building. Yes, a massive castle or tower. The Brothers Grimm first published their tale in 1812, but there are various versions going back quite a lot further than this in other parts of Europe, but the Grimm's story is the one we know best. If you don't know the story of Rapunzel, well, here it is. A couple who live near a high walled garden are looking forward to starting a family. Their mother-to-be notices Rapunzel, an edible salad root that is growing within the garden, and she starts to have cravings for it, so much so that she refuses to eat anything else. Needless to say, this is not very good for her or her growing baby. They both need food of some description, so the husband, fearing for his wife's survival, breaks into the high-walled garden one night and steals some of the Rapunzel. What he doesn't know is that a sorceress lives in the castle and owns the garden within the high walls, and really doesn't take kindly to his scrumping. She confronts him in a rage, and he begs for mercy, telling her of his wife's condition and how much she craves the Rapunzel growing on the witch's land. The sorceress agrees to let him take as much Rapunzel as he wants. Feed your wife! So long as when the baby is born, he takes it to the sorceress. Well, you know, seems like a fair deal. Your firstborn for some salad leaves. But he's desperate, so he agrees. I wonder how his wife reacted to this news. One can only imagine. Anyway, back to the story. When the baby girl is born, the sorceress takes her to raise as her own daughter and calls her, guess what? Rapunzel. Rapunzel grows into a beautiful girl with long blonde hair. When she turns 12, the witch locks her in the tower within the grounds of the garden. I can only think that this is because she has reached puberty and will soon start looking for a partner of her own. And the witch does not want this. She wants Rapunzel to be hers forever. So as to keep her alive, the witch brings her food and visits her in her tall, doorless, stairless tower, calling up to the only window to ask to be let in. Rapunzel, Rapunzel, let down your hair, that I may climb thy golden stair. And so Rapunzel's life went on, bored, witless, in solitary confinement, unless her adoptive mother came to visit. Then one day a prince was riding in the forest surrounding the grounds. He hears Rapunzel singing from the tower and is swept away by her mournful and ethereal voice. He searches for her and eventually finds that she is inside the tower. He returns to the tower often to hear Rapunzel sing, until one day he sees the sorceress calling up to Rapunzel. "Rapunzel, Rapunzel, let down your hair." He waits until she has left and then creeps up to the tower and calls up to the lonely girl. She lowers down her hair and he climbs up, and of course they fall in love. Together they plan a way of escaping. The prince will come each evening and bring her a piece of silk, and Rapunzel will weave a ladder from it, so as she has something to climb down. Not the cleverest of plans, really. Why didn't he just bring a ladder? Well, before they can complete their plan, Rapunzel accidentally reveals to the sorceress that her dress is getting tighter. Could this be a sign of pregnancy? The sorceress realises what has happened and furiously cuts off Rapunzel's hair and casts the girl out into the forest to fend for herself. That evening the prince arrives, not knowing what has happened, and calls up to Rapunzel. The witch lowers the cut-off hair and watches him climb. Too late he realises that this isn't his beloved, and he leaps out of the tower for his life. A thorny bush breaks his fall and saves his life, but it scratches his eyes, leaving him blind. For years he wanders the countryside and eventually stumbles upon the little village where Rapunzel now lives with her twins, his children, a boy and a girl. She is singing, and although he can't see her, he recognises her beautiful voice, and they fall into each other's arms. Her sad tears at his appearance restore his sight, and he leads Rapunzel and his children back to the kingdom, where they live happily ever after. Several things occur to me during this story. Firstly, there's a theme of love conquering all, and it's a common thread for many of these folklore stories. But if you look deeper, there is also a theme of sort of looking after adolescent girls who may fall victim to wrong-uns. Or they might get into trouble by falling pregnant out of wedlock. Oopsie, some of us have been there. But why on earth would the husband agree to swap his newborn baby for some salad leaves? Well, hundreds of years ago, when this story was first created, it was believed that pregnant women should eat whatever they craved, as it could do harm to the baby if they were denied. And if the baby did not survive, it was blamed on not eating the food that was craved. We now think that cravings happen because we are deficient in something. So, for example, if you crave Marmite, you might be in need of vitamin B. Still, swapping your baby seems a bit extreme. I guess he prioritised his wife's safety over his baby's. As the story has unfolded, the technique that you've been watching me use is just laying down different watercolours. And then when all of that has dried properly, then just going in with some colouring pencils, or these happen to be water-soluble colouring pencils. You can either use them dry, or you can dip them in some water first to make the colours a lot more saturated. And that's how I've been working. Then with a bit of dry pencil to show where the ivy is growing and there's shadow behind it. And then for the cloud, I'm just using a blue-grey pencil that's a water-soluble one, just giving it lots of very light layers, and then finding a nice big brush with some clean water on it, just to smooth that out a bit, and then going back in with the pencil just to create some more texture. And then around all this foliage that I've drawn in the different greens, just going round the edges just to give it an extra bit of line work to make it stand out from the piece behind it or the piece in front of it. But I don't want to lose all that lovely work that the watercolour has done with the water and the way it's spread out and made its own little patterns. So I'm being very careful and mindful not to contaminate that. And I really felt that this deserved to have some lettering on it, but as you will probably see, I have made a spelling typo. So I've left this in because I just wanted to show you how I go about rectifying this. So I rubbed out quite a lot of it with my eraser, and then I went over it with just trying to cover up those letters as much as possible, and then using a lot of colour to go over those lines. And I think apart from under the N where you can see a little bit of the Z, I think that's worked quite well. And then to supercharge that colour, just going over it with a small brush and some water, and that will smooth out those lines that I've messed up on as well. If you'd like further artist tutorials, I have a variety of short courses that will help you. There are real-time sessions looking at painting, drawing and marker pens, among others. And if you're keen on producing your own book, there is a more in-depth course on what you need to know about self-publishing a book with illustrations. And that covers making key decisions, how to make layouts and dummy books, rhythm and pacing, as well as several tutorials on illustrating your book, and a look at the tech. You can either hop over to my website or join me on Patreon for more information. Go on, give it a go! I wonder how that conversation went when he got home that day. Hello dear, I'm home. Now, I've got some good news and I've got some bad news. Next week I will be doing something totally different. So different, it might just blow your socks off. So look out for that and make sure you stick with it. I'm off to eat guacamole with a goat. I will see you next time. Nanu nanu.